Hi, we're Shane and Natalie.
And we like to play board games.
Because we're nerds. But most of our friends live too far away to be nerds with us. So we're just kind of, lonely nerds. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to try out this game, Fantasy Realms. Now, we like to try to find games that work for two. This is a game which is for, it says 3 to 6 players, but it's understood that it can work with 2. The manual has a variation for 2. We're going to try the game with the regular rules, and maybe we'll try the game with the variation also. Mm-hmm. So the way this game works is we have this deck, and within the deck are a bunch of cards, and each of the cards has a different characteristics. It's got different suits and it's got different strengths. So, for instance, what we see here is this card here has a strength of 13. Mm-hmm. And this card here has a strength of 9. Mm-hmm. And the suits are these strips along the side. So this suit is Weather, and this suit is Leader, and this suit is Beast. Mm-hmm. You see?
Yes.
Okay, so the way the game is going to work is we are each going to have 7 cards in our hand. So it's kind of like Rummy, which is one of the reasons that I thought you might like it.
Yes, because I destroy you every time we play.
Well, but also I thought you just liked the Rummy.
I do indeed enjoy Rummy.
So the way it's going to work, you're going to have 7 cards in your hand. Mm-hmm. And you're also going to have the deck, and you're going to have, as the game goes on, discards. Mm-hmm. And so what's going to happen is, as the game goes on, for each turn, it's real simple. You are going to, into your hand, either draw from the deck, mm-hmm. or you can pick one of the face-up discards.
Okay.
And then you put another one down. Mm-hmm. So you're always going to have 7 cards in your hand.
Yep.
So I might draw this one, and then I might put, if I had other cards in my hand, then I'd put another one back down. Yeah. Okay? Mm-hmm. The game ends when there are 10 cards face up.
Okay.
Now that's one of the things we have to check out, because in a 2-player versus like a 3 or a 6-player game, how fast that happens is going to be different. Mm-hmm. There is a variation in the rule book for 2 players, and there's a couple of differences. One is that you start with no cards in your hand.
How's that supposed to work?
Well, you start with no cards in your hand, and then you draw 2 cards at a time, and then you put one down or something like that. And you the game ends when both players have 7 cards in their hand, and there are 12 face-up cards. Which I would think 12 would be more beneficial for more players.
Yeah.
But in any event, we'll try both ways. Now, at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. Now, where the points come from is the numbers, mm-hmm. and then each card might have a bonus. You see a bonus here, or it might have a penalty. And so, for example, this Beastmaster says bonus, +9 for each beast. So this is a beast. So if you had the Beastmaster and the unicorn in your hand, then this Beastmaster would be worth 18, because it would be worth 9 for him, mm-hmm. and then another 9 for the unicorn. Not mm-hmm. because of the 9 on the unicorn, but because of that bonus. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This smoke says penalty. This card is blanked unless with at least 1 flame. So that means that blanked means that the card is as if it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So you need to have a flame. So that's another one of the suits. So trying to find. So here's a flame, wildfire. So if you had wildfire and smoke, everything's good. If you do not have wildfire or some other flame in your hand, the smoke does not count for anything. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have your bonuses and your penalties coming together. Empress, penalty, -5 for each other leader. Mm-hmm. So this could be negative points if you had enough leaders.
Yeah.
Right?
But it could also, because of the bonus, 10 for each army, if you had enough other army cards, that might also nullify.
Right. Now, look at this Beastmaster. It says clears the penalty on all beasts. So if you see a card that says clear, that means that the penalties will not apply. So so you're trying to balance the thing. I've never played the game, but supposedly knowing the deck helps because there is a specific kind of things you might be looking for or what. So that's pretty much the game. It does come with this score pad to help you score at the end, although there is an app which I'm going to try and see how that goes. So we'll play the game and then we'll let you know what we think. Alright, so we've played 4 games now. 2
games with the original rules and 2 games with the 2-player modified rules.
Alright, and so what do you think?
I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite game, but it was a good game. It was still enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it's a good light game, maybe a good gateway game. But let's talk about one thing at a time. So, what do you think about the components? I mean, it's a card game, so it's not like just components.
Yeah, I mean, the art's not bad. It's also just not anything special necessarily. It's just kind of your standard fantasy stock type fare. It's not bad. It's just not special. Same thing with the finish on the cards. It's not like a special linen finish or anything like what you would even see on like a bicycle card. But it's also a little bit nicer quality than, say, your standard cheap 99-cent photo card that you get from Walgreens.
Yeah.
So, nothing special, but
the cards are fine. The cards are fine. There's some games where I would say that the components and all that stuff is kind of like a reason you play.
Yeah. This is not one.
This is not one of those, right? So,
Everdell's gorgeous.
Pretty much anything from like Stonemaier.
Wingspan is also a beautiful game.
Well, that's Stonemaier.
Oh, okay.
So any of those, these are games that just kind of you play because, at least in part for other reasons.
But at least in part, you play those games for aesthetic enjoyment.
You're drawn in by it.
Yes.
That's not going to happen here. But the game itself,
it's not bad
looking.
Fine.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about the strategic or the tactical kind of thing.
It's very, very tactical. You have to, depending on which rules you use, this might be a good time to talk about the difference between the 2 rules. Because the different rules essentially require kind of different approaches to the game.
Well, I would say this. Regardless of what rule set, it's this is a game that the decisions are kind of like really agonizing at times.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a card that's going to be worth 50 quadrillion points if you just get the right thing.
Like this one. This one can be worth 150
points. On the other hand, maybe you, like, at what point do you give up on that?
And decide to use a different strategy.
Because maybe you have this one, and then maybe you have, like, the collector, which could also be worth 150 points. And you're probably, almost certainly not going to be able to get...
You can't get the both. No.
So how do you know when to just give up? And it's really hard.
It's very hard.
So tactically speaking, or strategically speaking, I think the strategy is low in this.
Yeah, it's more tactical than strategic.
But there's a blend, because you kind of do have a way you have to go.
Yeah, you do have to decide kind of at some point, I'm going to aim for, basically you choose 2 or 3 cards, you're like, I'm going to focus on the bonuses for these cards, and then focus less on the other one. So at a certain point, you are making strategic decisions, but it is still very tactical. So
the other thing about this is with the kind of interaction. There's not any attacking one another, but there's definitely that sort of you're taking the thing the other person wants, right?
Or ending the game early on him.
Or ending the game early. Although I would say that these games go by really fast.
Yeah, they really do.
Even with the 2-player version, which goes a little longer, but it's like almost too fast.
It almost feels like it ends
right when
too
you're
soon.
kind of starting to do it, but
I think in the first game that we played, I was surprised because I had made my choice and was drawing a card, and I realized, oh wait, when I discard, the game's over. We're done, and I wasn't necessarily even done yet, but I couldn't use anything in the discard, so I didn't have a choice.
Right. So the other thing that might be present once you know the game a little bit better is, I did it once, but I feel like this could be something that if you knew the deck a little better, kind of watching what your opponent's doing and trying to thwart them. But the issue is, it's so tight just trying to make your hand work.
That it would be really hard to spend any energy
to kind of like hate draw something for the other person.
Because that can completely screw you over.
It's just not something that I don't think there's room for it really.
No. So there was plenty of thwarting though, just with the speed at which you ended the game and taking stuff the other person
wanted. With 3, 4, 5, 6 players, I can see this
easily going.
I can see why more cards left over at the end, 12 for 2 players versus 10 for more. Because with more players, what's happening is you have more people that are looking at sort of the discard, and everybody you start with your 7 cards, and you're looking at that initially, and you see kind of 1 or 2 different ways you're going to go with it.
Yeah.
And with just the 2 of us with the regular rules, it was very hard to actually go down that path.
Yeah.
Because the game just ends so fast.
Yeah, with the regular rules, because you start off with your hand, and so you're making your strategic decisions based on your starting hand, essentially. And then you're stuck with what do you draw. And
then the game ends because it's so fast. But with more players, more people... So a key thing about the game is when you draw from the discard...
It slows the game down.
It slows the game down, and when you draw from the deck, it accelerates the end of the game. And with more players, you probably have more people that have what they're looking for, and so more people drawing from the discard.
Yeah.
With just the 2 of us, there's plenty of times when neither of us necessarily needed things that were in the discard.
I think the last game, we almost ran out of discards before we finished getting cards in our hands.
So, in terms of does it work for 2 players, I would say the regular rules kind of no.
No, as much as I want to like the regular rules for 2 players, it's too fast.
The regular rules are just more pure. It's just more draw 1, put 1 down. The 2-player rules is kind of like a 2-phase game. In the first phase, you start with no cards, and you're building your hand. And then once you have 7, the rest of the game you're kind of like curating your hand. And so it definitely works better. There was definitely some times when we were playing
different. I think the first game we played with the 2-player rules, I hit the second phase before you did, if I remember correctly.
Maybe, but what I was getting at is that with the regular rules, I think the game is very random.
Yes.
So you had one turn where you had this gem of order, which basically you need certain cards, and you had all of them that you needed right away.
I had 4 of the 7 in my starting hand. I needed.
And so...
And then I drew my next 3 turns.
That game ended really fast.
Yeah, I think that game was like maybe 5 minutes.
And then I saw her hand and I saw mine, and it's like, I wasn't able to do anything. And it was really how fast does the game move and the randomness. But the 2-player rules do sort of work.
They extend it out. Yeah. I still like the regular rules better, but they just don't work for 2 players very well.
So, okay, long term, this game sort of replayability.
For us, I can see it being like if we have a night where we want to play multiple games. Like, if, for example, if we want to play, if it's just like a night where we want to kind of change it up on quickly, like if we want to play Port Royal, but we don't want to just play Port Royal for 2 hours, we might play a couple games of Port Royal, play a couple games of this, play maybe a game or 2 of Jaipur. A game for a night when we're not wanting to just spend all night on one game.
I think if you're big into games, this is a kind of a light game. It is enjoyable. I would play it again, but I wouldn't be pulling it out all the time either.
No.
I think what this would actually be really good for would be a game to kind of introduce other people.
It really would be a good intro game, especially for people who are very familiar with other card games like Rummy.
This is Rummy. It's just Rummy with powers and like wizards and things, which is cool. Wizards are cool.
And it changes the game. It is substantially different from Rummy. but not so completely different that somebody who's familiar with Rummy but not familiar with other games is going to be put off by it.
Okay, a game that most people know, right? Mm-hmm. And that if a game that's not Rummy, but it basically is Rummy, that most people know, I must have gotten it every year in my Christmas stocking for like 10 years in a row, is Phase 10. Phase 10 is this game.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much, it's you see it everywhere. Mm-hmm. And some people hate it, some people like it. I think it's one of those games that a lot of people that aren't really into, they don't know a lot about.
They're at least familiar with the concept.
They think games are just like Monopoly and Scrabble and things. They know about that, and that's kind of like a different game for them. Mm-hmm. This is like
taking that
to a completely different level.
Yeah, taking that and taking them the next step closer to other.
I mean, I don't even really want to compare it to Phase 10. I just brought it up because to say these are both games which draw on and build on Rummy.
Yes.
But this is like so completely.
If
different.
If Phase 10 is an extra like 1 or 2 steps away from Rummy, this is about 10 steps away from Rummy.
It's much stronger. Another game that we have played that is similar in the sense that it kind of builds on Rummy a little bit is this Dragonwood. Mm-hmm. Now this is a game that didn't last for us very long. We like the idea of it because it's dragons are cool and you just will buy anything that has dragons.
I will not buy anything that has dragons.
But
I will look at anything that has dragons on it.
But we thought it might be fun, and it's not that it's bad.
It's just the age on this game. I think this would be a good intro game for a kid under, say, about 13.
Yeah.
This is a good game for getting a kid under the age of 13 who might be familiar with Rummy or something similar because they play with their family. Once you get much older than Rummy, I mean, you can kind of tell looking at the box. The art is a little on the less.
But that doesn't. It's not always.
It's not always indicative. But the way the game plays, it plays a bit younger. So this would be for like kids. This would be for adults who are used to Rummy to get them into more advanced gaming.
So if you you're a couple or you're just two people, whatever, friends or whatever that like to play some games, and you might have somebody over or some other people or family. This would be a really great one because it feels close enough, and the rules are like 2 seconds to explain.
Yeah, the rules are very easy to understand.
It feels like you're just playing a regular card game. Mm-hmm. But it introduces another level of what a game it kind of can be. And so I'd say this is a great option for that. Or if you are trying to get your girlfriend or your or your husband or just some other person into games, and this is again I think a good option.
A good intro game.
Yeah.
The scoring is a little complicated, but the free app worked pretty well.
Yeah. Now I don't think the app is official. It's just an app that is out there. It was a little finicky at first. There was an option to scan your cards, but that didn't work. It just came up with totally different ones than we had. Now I think that might be because there are different editions of the game. I think this is the older version, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know.
But once we were able to just figure out how to actually enter, it seemed daunting at first, like really confusing, but actually it was really speedy.
Yeah.
Once. I mean, the alternative is they give you this one of these things. And I, you know what? So I don't think I've ever told you this. I hate games that give you these things.
Why?
Because it always feels like what happens when it runs out. Clue is a game. Give you stuff like this, right? A lot of people know, and I always wondered growing up, like, well, what happens when you run out? And you can just use a piece of paper and write it down. But still, I want my game to be a thing that. In other words, it feels like this is part of the game.
You don't want the components to run out.
I don't want the components to be used up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not buying French fries. I'm buying a game. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it's fine. It's totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
Honestly,
maybe it's nice because
I don't know that I've looked at it all that seriously, but even like looking at the games that we played, frankly, I don't even know how that thing would help because trying to calculate your bonuses, which some of them stack on each other and kind of interact with each other, I don't even want to think about trying to use something
that might
like
be
that.
The biggest downside. If you don't use the app,
scoring is really complicated.
Yeah, so we were able to play 4 games in maybe a half hour, And it was nice. It was good. And it was fun.
But scoring took us the time it took to enter the carts.
That's true, and that was not that was fast. That was not a long time at all. I think if we had to score after every game, we probably would have played like half as many games.
We probably only would have played one of each rule type because
Yeah.
it would have taken so long to score the cards out. Because, for example, the Gem of Order, you've got your cards based on how many cards that you have in a row. Then you've got other ones that build based on the number of other cards with suit. There's just so many different, and that's not even counting penalties. That's just thinking about bonuses. It all adds up so interconnectedly.
So, I would say good game. One we would keep around and pull out every once in a while. Probably
Next
not.
time my family comes to visit, probably.
Yeah, probably not the most intense. Not when we're looking to play something more serious.
No.
But
a good game.
A good game worth having. Okay, well, let us know what you think, and if you have anything that you think we would be interested in, then let us know about that too.
Just don't send us cooperative games because somebody won't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
Bye.